It is delight and joy that we continue in our summer of inviting members of our community to offer words of Torah and to teach us. David Weinstein, are delighted to have you with us all the time that you're with us, but we are especially delighted to have you and invite you to the Bima or the Reader's Table, whichever you prefer. Come on up to offer us words of Torah and wisdom at this time. Got to move this down.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. First of all, I want to thank our rabbis for affording me the honor of giving me this opportunity to speak with you. And I'm going to dedicate my words today to the memory of my mother, Bracha Bat Pinchas V'Chaya, whose yahrzeit I'm observing today. As many of you know, I am both an American and an Israeli, a dual citizen. Just as we love each of our two parents, I am blessed and privileged to have two homes, one here in the United States and one in Israel. We know that in the last few years, both Israel and Jews here in the United States have suffered extraordinarily. Clearly, the atrocities of October 7 are seared in our memories. The murders, the depraved violence, the kidnappings. That morning, I happened to be on the streets of Jerusalem walking to Simchat Torah services when sirens went off, and before I knew it, there were rockets exploding over my head. Since that Black Shabbat, hundreds of Israelis and thousands of Palestinians have been killed or injured in the resulting warfare. After 659 days, 50 hostages are still being held in horrendous conditions in underground Gaza tunnels, and the end of their plight is not yet in sight. Even before that dark day, Israel was sharply divided politically, with major demonstrations filling the streets of numerous cities and towns throughout the country, with hundreds of thousands of demonstrators who were very emotional concerning the potential political control of the judiciary. In that same period, we Jews in the United States and elsewhere around the world have experienced unprecedented skyrocketing of anti-Semitism, highlighted by hatred and violence against Jews on major university and college campuses, swastikas painted on our own property here, and even murders like those in Washington just 2 months ago. But my focus today is not on the atrocities, the resulting war, or the hatred. Rather, this is part of the background of what I want to address today. I believe we American Jews can learn something valuable about ourselves from how Israelis have coped with and endured the continuing trauma. In short, their resilience. The other background component arises from the most recent annual World Happiness Report published this past spring. Astoundingly, in 2024, amid the ongoing war with Hamas and Hezbollah, with 70,000 Israelis displaced from their homes, and after the atrocities of October 7th, Israel was nevertheless the 8th happiest country in the world. The previous year, during Israel's massive internal civil unrest on October 7th, Israel had been ranked even higher, 5th. And by comparison, the US and the United Kingdom were ranked considerably lower, only in the mid-20s in each of those 2 years. Israel's happiness score is also validated by a totally different measure of happiness and hope. Israel has by far the highest fertility rate in the developed world, and that rate actually increased in 2024, including among secular Israeli Jews. The clash of this happiness and the obvious pain and grief Israel suffers begs this question: how is it possible that this small country, which had struggled with political divisiveness and the horrors of October 7th, 2023, engaged in war on at least two fronts since that time, and only a month ago was woken nightly by missile attacks from Iran, this small country that is still fighting for the return of the remaining hostages without sacrificing national security, how is it possible that Israel can be so happy? I think our Torah portion, Matot-Masei, particularly Matot, suggests a way to address this compelling paradox. In chapter 32 of Bamidbar, Numbers, the leaders of the tribes of Gad and Reuven come to Moses and the other leaders while the Israelites are encamped in Transjordan, east of Eretz Yisrael. They have not yet entered Israel. The leaders of these two tribes say that their tribes want to remain east of the Jordan River because the land there is great for the cattle that they raise, and they do not want to enter Eretz Yisrael with the other tribes. Moses responds sharply, asking the leaders of these two tribes, "Ha'achechem yavou lemilchama ve'atem teshvu po?" Are your brothers to go to war while you stay here? And Moses continues, "Why will you divert the minds of the Israelites from crossing into the land that God has given them? You will bring calamity upon all this people." Recognizing the validity of Moses' objection, the Gadites and Reubenites agreed to send their elite soldiers across the Jordan River to fight alongside those of the other tribes in order to establish those other tribes in Eretz Yisrael. Moses then confirms that if the two tribes fulfill their commitment to fight alongside their brethren, they will be clear of their obligation before God and Israel and may keep the land that they have requested east of the Jordan. In other words, even before entering the land of Israel, our people already recognized our responsibility for one another. As later formulated in the Talmud, Kol Yisrael Aravim ze bazeh. All Israel is responsible for one another. This feeling of communal interdependence and shared destiny is at the heart of the explanation for the seeming clash between Israelis' happiness and the pain and grief for the deaths, injuries, hostages, and destruction we have witnessed on and since October 7th. Natan Sharansky, a genuine Jewish hero of our time and an exemplar of resilience, and American historian Professor Gil Troy have explained it this way, and I quote, "Despite searing political divisions, Israelis remain united culturally. Cherishing family, community, country, and history shapes their faith in the future. Israelis feel they are part of Israel's story and the Jewish story. With so much to live for, they know what they are willing to die for, too." Unquote. This feeling of shared community and interdependence has appeared in many ways. On October 7th, thousands, I repeat, thousands of reserve soldiers donned their uniforms, grabbed their weapons and equipment, and dashed out to join their army units without waiting to be called up. That same day, The very civil organizations that had previously been protesting throughout Israel didn't close down. Instead, they repurposed themselves as volunteers who supported soldiers, those made homeless by the Hamas attacks, and the various agricultural settlements in need of field labor to keep the country fed. Those of us who were on the Temple Beth Hillel Bethel mission to Israel March of last year saw these groups still very much in action, and they remain so today. All over the country, even on the highway electronic message signs, one sees repeated these two words, Yachad Ninatzeach, together we shall prevail. And everywhere, tree trunks and car door handles are decked with yellow ribbons as a reminder that there are still hostages whom we must bring home. Israelis live each day as part of our people, not just as individuals. They maintain connections to others, and those connections provide emotional support and a feeling of meaning. Just before October 7th, Dan Sinor and Saul Singer, who are the authors of that wonderful book, Startup Nation, put it this way, and I quote, "At a time when people in many countries suffer from a shriveling sense of connection, belonging, and belief in the future, Israelis seem to have found a way to cultivate these treasures, a way to be modern and traditional, to be religious and secular, to embrace rapid technological change and build tight intergenerational families, to be ambitious individualists, achieve prosperity, and cradle a culture that persistently imprints that it's not just about you, that it is about service to the larger circles around you, the chevra, the country, and the world. That is the genius of Israel," unquote. No wonder the focus in this country on me seems foreign to many Israelis. As an American lawyer, I am deeply committed to our constitutional framework, particularly its Bill of Rights. But I believe this country has missed an essential ingredient of our citizens' well-being by its excessive concern solely for the individual, unbalanced by a clear articulation of our need for relationships with others, including our responsibilities to our society as a whole. But, however that may be, as Jews, we understand, just like the tribes of Gad and Reuven in today's Torah portion, that our relationships with our people, including our family, close friends, work associates, the folks we daven with, and others, are all essential to our sense of purpose and fulfillment. And as members of Temple Beth Hillel Bethel, we collectively provide each other opportunities to deepen our relationships, whether it's in religious services, cooking for those in need, learning together, playing softball, Israeli folk dancing, or raising money for tzedakah. Indeed, that's the profound wisdom behind Sisterhood's expansion years back of what had been just a brief Shabbat Kiddush into the sit-down lunch and schmooze that we all, I hope, will share together in just a few minutes. This is also the import conveyed each time we say, "See you in shul," that catchy salutation that Rabbi Witkowski brought to us when he and his family joined our community. I am confident that just as Israelis can be happy even while suffering the pain and sacrifices of war, we American Jews can reflect a similar resilience in the face of mounting anti-Semitism and negativity in this country by maintaining our ties to one another, supporting each other, and standing resolutely together with hope for the future. Am Yisrael Chai. Shabbat Shalom.